Today, I'd like to talk about making decisions and how that experience changes as we move from separation consciousness through transformation consciousness and into unity consciousness. And it changes quite a bit. It becomes easier and more fun. In fact, in unity consciousness, choice making really just becomes recognizing the next natural step, because in unity consciousness, we are already in tune with life itself. We're in tune with our hearts. We're in tune with the energy flowing through us and where it wants to go. We're honoring our rhythm, honoring our guidance. So, in many respects, choices themselves, the number of choices does diminish, and choices become these fun opportunities to pause and feel into what's next, what would light me up next. So it's a whole different experience than what we typically have or have had in separation and transformation consciousness, because we've been conditioned at those levels of consciousness to think in terms of right and wrong and good and bad. And in particular, with regard to decisions, there's a fear of making a wrong or bad decision, because if we make a wrong decision, then something bad will happen. That whole orientation toward right and wrong and good and bad and something bad potentially happening, all of that comes from separation consciousness. Our minds have been steeped and conditioned in fear. And even as we've moved into transformation consciousness and we've opened to so many more possibilities and we're so much more heart-centered in this level, at this level of consciousness, there's still a tendency for our minds to kind of circle back and want to wrangle a decision to the ground, to wrangle a choice to the ground and to get it right. And so we make lists of pros and cons and good and bad, and we do these endless what if scenarios trying to figure it out, all the while not fully realizing that all of that mental activity, which is steeped in fear, is creating static, is interfering with our ability to sense what is right for us right now, to sense where the energy is carrying us, is pointing us toward. The simple suggestion that I want to make is, when you're making a choice or a decision, if it isn't clear in any moment, then there is no choice to be made in that moment. There's no choice to be made if the choice isn't already clear. Because if it isn't clear, that's because there is static. There's something in the way. There's a thought pattern in the way of recognizing the truth, the joyful choice that wants to be made. And so in those moments, we do ourselves a huge favor by stepping back, not trying to push through and wrangle this choice to the ground, stepping back and either changing our focus and getting off the subject and finding ways to be to feel good and to move on with the rest of our lives, or in that moment to perhaps get quiet and go within, consult the heart of hearts, listen for inner guidance, reflect on, where is my energy right now in my life? Where does it want to go? What would light me up? Which of these choices feels the most natural and the most exciting and the most joyful to me? Considering choices not from the standpoint of right and wrong, but considering them from the standpoint of energy, of joy, of enjoyment, of learning and excitement and passion and growth. Those are the choices that lead us into lives of fulfillment and joy and growth. And so in this transition from transformation consciousness into unity consciousness, we have this great opportunity when we're faced with a choice, or when we think that we're faced with a choice, to really step back and say, does this choice need to be made right now? And if we believe that it does, but we're still not clear, then the opportunity becomes to get more in touch with the choice that's being made through us. And there's an energy here. Desire, as I've said before, is an energy. It is flow. It is love moving into life. And it's very powerful. It's not really subtle. It's very powerful. We're just becoming better and better at sensing it and detecting it. And as we get better and better at that, again, the choices themselves become fairly obvious. It's just the next natural thing to do, the next natural step to take or not to take. We may think that we're supposed to do something and then realize, when we step back and feel in, that that was just something our minds made up. And instead, we remember to step closer, to come closer to our hearts, to our joy, to our energy, to our natural impulses, to our inner guidance, to what we know in our heart of hearts. All these things that in the past have been greatly diminished or dismissed altogether, even ridiculed. As we move into unity consciousness, we recognize them, we understand them as our wisdom, our brilliance, our connection with life itself. It's a complete reorientation, although of course many of us are already well on the way of making that shift in orientation. I just want to bring this up because I've noticed in my work with clients that there still is this tendency to want to figure things out to get it right, as opposed to staying relaxed and open and lighthearted, and remembering that we are extensions of the one source, all loving, all knowing, all powerful. That incredible intelligence and wisdom and love is flowing through us, is us in every moment. We have access to all the information that we need in that moment. And again, that speaks to us. How we access that is through our intuition, our inner guidance, our felt sense of things, our impulses, our joy, our passion, our desires, all of these things, synchronistic opportunities, things that show up in our lives easily without effort, and we notice that they light us up. These are all ways that our connection with Source is revealed to us in a way that helps us take that next natural step and live into these deeply fulfilled lives, these joyful lives of creativity and sharing and contribution that we were meant to live. So again, if a choice is not clear in any given moment, then there is no choice to be made in that moment.